The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Motion carries. This case.
Mr. Chairman, before Mr. Orr starts his presentation, I'd like to acknowledge the amount of work that Mr. Orr has put into the cases that we're about to hear in the entire situation. And I'd also like to thank the Department of Public Safety for all of the support they've given us during this set of investigation. What you'll have in front of you today are the officers who are reporting to us from the town of Quartzsite for review. At a future meeting, due to the complexities and ongoing investigations, you will review the in position to review our investigation concerning the chief of police over there. In this particular case, Mr. Orr is going to give you an overview. You will have to take independent action on each of the individual officers, but we've asked that he simply provide the overview and separate out the individual. It will be a little complicated, but you will have to take each individual officer as its own to take action or not action as you see fit. But once again, I want to thank Mr. Orr for all the work. As you can see, as you will hear, it's a complex case. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend the I'll recusing from all matters concerning the Quartzsite Police Department, which for the record will be cases 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. All recusals on my part.
Let the record show reflect.
Mr. Chair, I must recuse myself from all 6 cases.
And let the record show reflect.
I also need to recuse myself from this case.
And Ms. Morris. Okay. We still have a quorum. New case number 16. Roberto Dominguez. Mr. Orr.
Based on the director's comments, can I answer any questions? The next 6 cases are involving former Quartzsite Police Department peace officers and are being presented to you collectively to the extent that the alleged allegation is identical and the case summary is the same with some minor additions. In the first case involving Gilbert Dominguez, the alleged conduct is between January 2010 and June of 2011. Quartzsite Police Officer Gilbert Dominguez made allegations of professional misconduct against the Quartzsite Police Department Chief Jeffrey Gilbert. These allegations were deemed by the town of Quartzsite to be false and were said to be made in violation of the Quartzsite personnel policy. The allegations were made to the Arizona Department of Public Safety and the Arizona Peace Officer Standards and Training Board. Now, in summary, it might be said that the town of Quartzsite has been embroiled in political unrest for several years. And I may preface my comments by saying, given the circumstances, you can expect complaints and counter-complaints throughout the process, and it is a given. However, for these 6 cases, your staff has focused on the termination report submitted by the police department, and the internal affairs investigation was conducted by former Assistant Town Manager Al Johnston. That internal investigation paperwork that came to us included the notice of investigations, the notice of intent to interview, the notice of intent to terminate, along with audio and video recordings of the internal affairs investigations. Now, with that in mind, as the unrest in Quartzsite unfolded, the Quartzsite Police Officers Association was afraid by taking their concerns of professional misconduct by the chief to the town council and the mayor. Officer Dominguez was part of that process of presenting these allegations to various entities. Specifically, in the notice of investigation provided by the town of Quartzsite was the accusation or the allegation that the chief accrues sick and vacation time, but when he chooses to take time off, he does it before the time, in essence, never using any of his sick or vacation time. Now, the Department of Public Safety conducted a criminal investigation into those allegations and found no criminal wrongdoing, indicating that as part of his exempt status, he had the ability to do this without reporting sick time or vacation time as taken. Now, the town believed that Officer Dominguez and the Quartzsite Police Officers Association were aware of the AZPOST investigation and the fact that the chief had been exonerated of all allegations the notice of investigation, the basic question with Officer Dominguez was, were you aware of the DPS investigation? Now, Officer Dominguez was one of the four officers that came to the post to present their allegations. He was aware that the investigation was completed, but didn't know the results of the investigation. Now, you will see that the association's collective belief was that the Department of Public Safety conducted a criminal investigation and they anticipated AZPOST to do an ethical investigation. And that was, in fact, Officer Dominguez's position also. The matter of being away from his residence without prior consent was never addressed in the internal affairs investigation. So on September 16th, he was terminated for misconduct. Now, it should be noted to the board that on April 12th of 2012, we were notified by the Colorado River Indian Tribes Police Department that Officer Dominguez had applied for a peace officer position with that agency. He had admitted to conduct that was clearly violations of post rules while he was a peace officer at the city of Quartzsite. That situation was addressed by AZPOST with case number 12-051. On July 18th, this board accepted a consent agreement with Officer Dominguez for a one-year suspension of his peace officer certification. That is for information purposes only. The situation at hand is whether or not they violate the post rules by presenting information to the post board. May I answer any questions about Officer Dominguez? Any questions on the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion? Hearing none, may I have a motion? Question? Yes. Okay, yes.
The issue before us is whether there's an allegation of false, false allegation. That's what I'm hearing basically.
Correct.
And we're saying in their investigation, their summary case indicated that he probably did not have an idea of the outcome of the internal investigation.
His specific knowledge from the internal affairs investigation was that he was aware of the report but had no idea what the results were.
Therefore, making the issue of false statements unproven.
Correct.
Could I make that point, Mr. Chairman? Assume that there was an investigation done, that an officer knew the results of the investigation. That doesn't mean that the officer agrees with the results of the investigation and the previous post is a false statement on behalf of the officer. So I would encourage you not to chill officers bringing their issues to post if they have good faith in their misconduct.
I have just a question that arises in my mind. When you said that there's potential for another action against the police chief of whom these officers are complaining, is that correct? That's correct. Okay. It seems to me that maybe this is premature from the standpoint that if in fact there was some inappropriate action by the chief and these officers believe that there was inappropriate action, I'm just not sure how we can judge their state of mind as to the appropriateness of their action if we haven't made a decision as to the appropriate of the chief's actions. I don't know if I'm expressing that very clearly.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I would encourage you to go ahead and consider these cases today and chief separately because we're looking at their state of mind. Whether we find misconduct on the chief or not, we determine that they believe there's misconduct. Whether there's misconduct or not, if the officer reports what they believe is misconduct post, and even if it turns out that the area is gray or something and post doesn't determine misconduct, officers need to be free. All citizens need to be free to make their complaints to post without threat of losing their certification if post doesn't agree that it was the same type of misconduct that they did. So I don't know that we need to know anything about the chief to know that what they did was a criminal investigation was done, criminal conduct wasn't found. They wanted to bring an ethical complaint to post and did
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, the information is virtually identical with Officer Frakes. As far as the alleged conduct, it is identical. The basic summary is the same. And Officer Frakes' situation, he was one of the 4 officers also that came close to provide their concerns. And the city became aware of the fact that he was assigned to the task force and actually had put in a slip showing that he had worked that day at the task force. And that was one of the questions in the internal affairs investigation in a post-carrying environment. And he explained that working with the task force, there were many hours of overtime that were incurred. And this was one of their ways of being able to flex the time off. And he had a lieutenant who was in charge of that task force who was available to provide documentation to explain that that wasn't an appropriate course of action for Officer Frakes. Everything else about Officer Frakes was identical. He was also terminated on September 16th of 2011. And as of this presentation today, we are not aware of him applying for a peace officer position in the state of Arizona. May I answer any questions concerning Officer Frakes? Any questions of Mr. Ward? Yes, sir.
So crossover. We're not hearing the issue of Officer Frakes on the issue of the task force issue. It's the allegation coming down from making a bunch to the board, or to the coach. That's what we're doing.
Exactly, sir. I'd like that as an ancillary comment that these other issues that they have presented would certainly appear to me to be employment issues that would be handled by the executive staff as opposed to post violations.
Additional questions of Mr. Ward? Hearing none, may I have a motion? Motion and a second. Any additional comments from the board? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. New case number 18, James Kemp, Mr. Ward.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, obviously this involves former Officer James Kemp. All the information is basically identical with the exception of the notice of investigation and notice of termination. The town included the fact that Officer Kemp had come to post to provide that information to us and submitted a slip for sick time saying he was sick when in fact he was here to us presenting that information. That was addressed in the internal affairs interview. He was forthcoming, indicated that he did in fact do that, and he realized that it was a mistake in doing that. That might be considered also an internal employment issue. However, that is the additional information that's different than the other ones. He was also terminated on September 16th of 2011. However, on May 9th of 2012, he was appointed as a police officer with the Colorado City, Colorado Gilbert Indian Tribe Police Department. There's a typo as I look at it. AZPOST Compliance Specialist Steve Jacobs conducted the post audit, which included a review of the polygraph, which Officer Kemp did in fact pass. He is currently employed as a peace officer with GRID. Can I answer any questions concerning
Questions, Mr. Ward? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Motion no action.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments from the board? All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. New case number 19, Michelle Norris.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this case involves Michelle Norris, former police officer with Quartzsite. The information is identical with the exception that it is also referenced, not referenced in the notice of this investigation, but referenced in the notice to terminate, that she had traveled to Phoenix for medical reasons without getting consent while she was on administrative leave. She was supposed to be home. That is the only difference to the rest of the information that has been presented to you. She also was terminated on September 16th of 2011. And May 7th of 2012, she was appointed as a deputy for the La Paz County Sheriff's Office. Again, compliance specialist Steve Jacobs did the background audit, which included reviewing the polygraph, which in fact she passed as pre-employment. Can I answer any questions concerning also Norris?
Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Should I make a motion to take no action in this case?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additional comments from the board? All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. New case number 20, William Cox. The floor.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this involves former Sergeant William Cox of the Quartzsite Police Department, who is also the leader of the Quartzsite Police Officers Association. The information is identical to the extent of the alleged conduct and basic summary. However, in this particular situation, the city had provided a generic notice of investigation for all of the officers, which included Sergeant Cox. However, they amended the notice of investigation for Sergeant Cox to include the fact that he had gone to Councilmember Lizarraga, and in doing so, alleged that the city alleged that he had intentionally misled or attempted to mislead Councilman Lizarraga, by extension the town manager and the town council. The information is basically the same. Beyond that, and there was some issues concerning his termination where he was reappointed and then re-terminated, if you would. However, he was finally terminated from the Quartzsite Police Department. On October 13th of 2011, he was appointed with the Plaza County Certified Ranger Division as a peace officer. Again, Steve Jacobs did the background investigation, reviewed the polygraph, pre-employment polygraph, which he passed. Also, on April the 18th of 2012, he was appointed with the Colorado Indian Tribes Police Department as a peace officer. Again, the background investigation was conducted. He passed the pre-employment polygraph with no issues, and he is currently employed there as a peace officer.
Hearing none, may I have a motion? Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we take no action. I have a motion and a second. Any additional comments from the board? All those in favor, please signify with an aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm back to case number 21. The floor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, this involves Sherman Yeomans. The alleged conduct is identical. The basic scenario or summary is the same. What is different about Colonel Yeomans is that the entire police department was interviewed by a law firm that was hired by the city of Quartzsite, as all this was unfolding. During that interview, the independent investigator made mentioned some concerns about the integrity of Officer Yeoman during her investigation. She included information that said independent investigator Sonia Long concluded that your statements to her were so internally inconsistent that she concluded that you had lied to her during the investigation. One of the examples that she had provided is the fact that he had talked about being placed on administrative leave sometime prior to an unrelated incident, telling the investigator that he was put on admin leave without pay. He, in fact, was put on admin leave with pay. That was part of the inconsistencies that she referenced. She also indicated that the town, if interested, could pursue this. The town's not chosen to do that. He was also terminated, but on April the 18th of 2012, he again was appointed by the Colorado River Indian Tribes Police Department. Officer Jacobs has done a new hire audit, which reviewed the pre-employment polygraph examination, which in fact he passed. May I answer any questions concerning this?
Sure. Just one more quick. His termination of employment, he was not charged for the allegation. There was no allegation of lying under the investigation. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
So there is no